plays a crucial part in saving the day, and other times he actively makes things worse and just gets in the way. Today, we're going to look at Tails' character in every mainline Sonic game and rank him from worthless to elite. He's not in the original Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic CD, so let's start with his inception, Sonic 2, where he has a pretty strong debut. In single player, he follows Sonic through the entire game, and in co-op, player 2 gets to use him. He plays the exact same as Sonic, but with a smaller hitbox, so if he's able to maneuver all the same obstacles and keep up with the fastest thing alive, I'd say he's pretty darn useful. We'll put him in sidekick tier because he's not playable by himself, but he's borderline elite. Sonic 3 gifts...
Hey Nico, Zochoco, what's up, sweetie?
Tails the role of follower...
Hey Anita.
Like the last game, but it adds the ability to fly solo with him throughout the entire campaign, and his trademark flight ability is absolutely broken. Also, in 2-player, he can lift Sonic and guide him through the air, easily making this our first elite tier. In Sonic and Knuckles, you can only play as Sonic or Knuckles. Shocker, I know, but that means no Tails whatsoever. He gone. Oh no. I'm not sure if this game's considered mainline, but Tails does make cameos throughout the game and transport us to special stages to collect Chaos Emeralds, so barely does anything. Sonic Adventure is a game where Tails evolves from being dependent on Sonic to proving himself as an equally capable hero. In the beginning of the game, he crashes his plane on the shores of Emerald Coast.
Cool. Sounds good, Anita.
And Sonic has to go give him a hand. Then throughout the action stages, he follows Sonic through each area, and in his story mode, we see him race Sonic to each goal and actually come out on top in every single level. That's a hell of a good sidekick if you ask me. But at the end of the game, Sonic's off fighting Eggman by himself, and Tails is left all alone to save Station Square. His training wheels are off, and he has to overcome this obstacle without Sonic's help, and he crushes it. Watching his journey of self-discovery unfold in this game is peak Tails, and it definitely deserves a spot in Elite. Sonic Adventure 2 is a tough one, because he's once again playable and has a big part in the progression of the story, but there's two things really hurting his case. First off, he's in a mech this time, so gone are his OP helicopter Tails. Instead, he controls this super clunky robot that's just really not fun to play as. I'd still consider it a solid sidekick tier, though, if it weren't for him blowing the entire operation at the end of the game. This is one of the most iconic cutscenes in Sonic history. If you don't know what I'm talking about and are still avoiding spoilers for a 20-year-old game, skip to the timestamp on screen. But basically, they try to trick Eggman with a decoy Chaos Emerald, and when Sonic goes to give it to him and gets captured, Eggman bluffs and Tails absolutely sells.
You thought you could trick me with that thing?
So, how did you know it wasn't the real one?
Tails! Because you just told me, Fox Boy.
Now, it doesn't seem fitting because he got outsmarted, but he gets the brains tier for this one, because all the plans were his idea, and he does contribute, but he's a bit too much of a liability in this game. I'm grouping this trilogy all together because his character's handled the same in all three games. He's playable super early on or from the start, and is just as good as the other characters, so a nice and easy... This game introduces an entirely different gameplay style to the series, where you play as 3 characters at once and switch between them to solve puzzles and progress in the stage. Team Sonic consists of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and
You should get some water, sweetheart. It'll make you feel better.
he's not really better or worse than the other guys, so he gets sidekick tier. All 3 of them would. The answer
My
for
boy.
this game is entirely dependent on which
That's my boy. That's my boy.
Tails and Knuckles, and he's not really better or worse than the other guys, so he gets sidekick tier. All 3 of them would.
Sorry, Sonic, but this is my true boy. This is my boy right here. Freaking Shadow. Let's go.
The answer for this game is entirely dependent on which story path you take. Sometimes he doesn't play any role, but when he does appear, he doesn't do a whole lot. He'll follow Shadow through a stage, and if a second controller is connected, a player 2 can play as him. But again, he's not a very unique character, and is only in the game for a very brief moment.
Damn.
Releasing the exact same day as Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Rush is similarly lacking in the...
I love Sonic, though. My 3 favorite Sonic characters, well, actually 4, would be Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. But with Shadow in the equation, Shadow is number 1, Sonic is 2, Tails is 3, Knuckles is 4.
miles per hour department. Except this time, he's not
My 5th favorite Sonic character is Amy.
playable at all, and he mostly just yaps in cutscenes, so pretty freaking worthless. The most notorious game in the Sonic series...
Yeah, I just was talking about her, Zochoko. Amy's number 5th spot because she's my favorite female.
Does in fact feature Tails as playable. He doesn't have his own story mode or anything, but in Sonic's, he steps in now and again to help out. His flying works okay, about as well as it could in a broken game, and his only attack being this super slow bomb throw flat out sucks. But still, he's playable and is a pretty useful sidekick. In Sonic Rush Adventure, he travels with Sonic throughout the entire story, but isn't seen at all in gameplay. Instead, he's off to the side working on gadgets and machines to help them escape
Robot Pirate Island!
Not very useful to the player, but his brains do get them out of a bad situation. He doesn't contribute much in this game, but he does carry Sonic and Chip from continent to continent in the tornado, and introduces them to Professor Pickle, who tells him how to revert the whole werehog thing and restore Earth. It's not a very prominent role, but he does something, so he gets a high barely does anything.
My favorite game. I love that music. When I hear Reach for the Stars, I get all excited.
Similar to Unleashed, he's right there with Sonic for the entire story, but here we actually see more of him. He develops a gap.
And you know what? Sonic Colors Ultimate full game part 3 is coming very soon. You know what? I might just do it on the 18th. I might do Sonic in the morning and then in the evening.
Gadget to communicate with the Wisps and to figure out what Eggman's up to, which is pretty freaking useful, and it takes...
A lot of people don't. This last time I'm gonna pause it for now, but I love Sonic Colors. A lot of people may not like it, but I love Sonic Colors. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Next to Forces, next to Superstars, next to Frontiers, and maybe another one.
And brains, so... This game once again keeps Tails on the back burner. Sonic rescues him and his past self, and they just stand around in the hub world after that. Now, he does help out in the occasional side mission, but those aren't necessary at all, so we've got another worthless. Sonic 4 Episode 1 doesn't feature Tails in any way, shape, or form, but
I love blue too, babe. It's my favorite color.
Episode 2 brings him back to his classic glory. He's playable in multiplayer and runs alongside Sonic during single player, occasionally lifting him up to new routes and attacking enemies, so solid sidekick tier. Sonic Lost World is the worst portrayal of Tails out of any Sonic media. He's smart, but he finds the need to brag about it at every f***ing turn. And he gets, really jealous of Eggman throughout the story, which is so unjustified and makes it impossible to sympathize with him. And then when he's kidnapped halfway in, I was low-key kinda happy. Now, he does help Sonic quite a bit, sacrificing himself to the trap Sonic almost fell into, rescuing himself from captivity, and fixing up his plane, so he's not entirely useless, just really unlikable, and it doesn't really fit the character we've grown to love. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't played this one because I've heard just terrible things about it, but I do know Tails is playable and is a vital part of the team, so... And no, I'm not gonna count the handheld Sonic Boom games, same deal.
Oh yeah, I also love Mania. That's another one of my favorites.
Finally, another true classic Sonic game, and Tails returns to the playable roster, both alongside Sonic and by himself in single player. He can fly like usual to uncover new paths and damage enemies with his tails, so he's basically the same as he was in Sonic 3. Therefore... I hate this game, man.
I love
There's
it.
a million reasons why, but Tails' character is near the top of that list, where...
Babe, I love that little poem that you did. That's so cute! That has got to be one of the cutest damn things ever.
Here we are, right? Adventure gives him a good arc overcoming his dependence. He slowly got less and less so in these modern games, and here he's even more useless than Lost World. He's part of the quote-unquote resistance, but he really doesn't do much resisting. When Eggman attacks a group of civilians, he cowers down just like the rest of them, and needs his buddy to bail him out. And when he does, he just hides behind some rubble and watches Sonic get his ass beat. But that's not even his worst moment. When he's by himself trying to fix up E-102 Gamma and Chaos Zero shows up to attack him,
Sonic, help me!
he bends over, cowering, and begs for Sonic's help. And right when his ass about to get yoinked, classic Sonic shows up to save him. This takes his dependence to an all-new high, and his usefulness to an all-time low. Worthless.
Oh, I love Frontiers! Yes! Love Frontiers!
This time around, a digital version of Tails comes with us through basically the entire story, providing advice, explaining all these ancient technologies, and tracking down the...
As rage-inducing as Sonic Forces was, I still loved that game. It was always my favorite. It was the best. It just was stressful for my liking. But Sonic Frontiers coming soon. Sonic Superstars we're going to be finishing up soon. I think maybe Sonic Mania we are going to be finishing up soon. So there's going to be a lot of Sonic games I'm going to be covering in October and the rest of this month.
Chaos
Stay tuned for that.
Emeralds. So he's textbook brains tier. However, the most recent update adds him as a playable character alongside Amy and Knuckles, and he's a ton of fun to play as. But since you only unlock him after beating the main game, it doesn't help at all. And finally, Sonic's latest 2D adventure features Knuckles, Amy, and Tails as playable characters throughout the entire main game, and Tails' flight ability and good speed stats make him one of my favorite choices, so he earns another elite tier. And there you have it. Real quick, if you take your Nintendo Switch on the go a lot and wish it was easier to lug around, you gotta ditch that clunky old dock. It's bulky, flimsy, and really doesn't have a good reason to be. And Accelerate Gaming's portable...
Yeah, thanks for the advertisement, but nobody cares. Let's go watch the original one I watched yesterday. I think it was yesterday, I can remember. Let's see, which one was it? I think it was Sonic. Here we go.
Sonic the Hedgehog, everyone's favorite speedy, cocky little blue rodent. Sometimes the fate of the world's at stake and he 100% delivers, and other times he relies on his friends a bit too much or just does something stupid to make things worse. Today, we're going to look at Sonic's character in every mainline Sonic the Hedgehog game and rank him from worthless to elite. In the Hedgehog's debut, he plays a pretty standard protagonist role. There's not much story or context given, Sonic's just running around super fast and saving tiny animals from the clutches of the evil Dr. Robotnik. He succeeds, doesn't fuck anything up, and sets up a great foundation for his character, but compared to some later portrayals, it's nothing spectacular, so he'll go typical. Sonic 2 ups just about everything from that first game. Faster levels, brighter environments, more characters, more emeralds, and a new form for our blue blur, Super Sonic. You can only use it when you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, but it makes Sonic feel OP as all hell. Now, Tails does travel with him, but he's not dependent on him for anything. Sonic's a role model to him, and Tails desperately wants to tag along. This game really refined Sonic into the badass he was seen as in the 90s, and I'm going to be generous and push him up to elite for it. I don't know what to do with this one, because Sonic's able to time travel, which is super useful, but everything depends on whether or not you get the good or bad ending. Some futures are destroyed by Eggman, and others flourish in his absence. It all boils down to how well the player plays the game. It makes him tough to rank, but him having so much control over the fate of the world makes me have to put him at least up in typical hero.
Every time. Stupid ads.
I'm grouping Sonic 3 with Sonic and Knuckles again because it's the definitive version and gives us the best look at the complete narrative. Eggman's trying to relaunch the Death Egg and tricks Knuckles the Echidna into helping him steal the Master Emerald. Instead of an overweight roboticist being his main competitor, here it's another anthropomorphic creature with powers that very much rival his. And when partnered with Eggman, the odds are really stacked against him throughout this one. Once Knuckles changes sides though, it's basically over. Sonic rips through the Death Egg and goes super to defeat Eggman. But if you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds and convert those to Super Emeralds, you can unlock Hyper Sonic for the only time in the series. He's even faster than Super Sonic and can breathe underwater, making this the strongest form of Sonic we've seen to date. That alone makes this a really straightforward elite. In Sonic's fake 3D game, he's not doing anything too crazy. This new gameplay style makes him feel a lot slower and less agile than the classic games, which makes playing as him not feel nearly as satisfying. Plot-wise though, it's basically Sonic 1. Eggman's after the Emeralds and Sonic tries to save a bunch of flickies and stop the Doctor. The mediocre gameplay makes me want to lower him a bit, but he is effective in his goal and is a one-man wrecking crew, so I'll give it to him. Typical. Sonic Adventure is an excellent transition to 3D for the Sonic series. It carries over the level design philosophies, his moveset, and adds a couple new moves to make navigating this 3D space easier. He plays great, but his plot significance is watered down by the inclusion of a bunch of other characters. And that's not a bad thing, but it is for Sonic's role. Now, he's just one of 6 playable characters. And sure, his story is still the main event, but when you play through Tails' story, you see him beat Sonic to the end of every single stage. For the fastest thing alive, you'd expect him to easily outrun his pal. But he doesn't. And toward the end of the game, when Sonic defeats the Egg Viper and sends Eggman plummeting towards Station Square, he's off doing something else. And in a last-ditch effort, Eggman sends a missile at Station Square to blow it to bits. And the only one around that can do anything about it is Tails. So all by himself, he beats Eggman to the explosive and defeats him, which is a big moment for him, but makes Sonic out to be super careless and not having the situation under control at all. But when Perfect Chaos...
I feel like the thing is with that though is I feel like Sonic didn't know about the missile. He's like, okay, Eggman's defeated. Time to move on with my life. No, sadly not, little buddy. Sorry, not my blue buddy. It was not over yet. Now you got to deal with a giant water serpent-like thing.
Takes its full form, Sonic goes super and is the only one that stands a chance against that thing. That moment is pretty elite, but with the big focus on other characters and him failing to stop an Eggman missile, I've got to knock him down a typical hero. This game introduces a new character.
I love Sonic Adventure 2 because one, it introduces Shadow, and then two, it's the soundtrack. I love it.
Whose abilities contend with that of Sonic's, Shadow the Hedgehog. And throughout the game, Shadow is shown to be a lot stronger and more skilled than Sonic. When they first meet, he puts his speed to shame using Chaos Control and gets Sonic thrown in jail. If it weren't for Tails and somehow Amy, he probably wouldn't have gotten out, and the island would have exploded with him on it. He's kind of dependent on all his friends throughout the game. He needs Knuckles to break into Eggman's base, and he needs Tails to devise plans for him. Now, miraculously learning Chaos Control at the end was pretty damn cool, especially when he didn't even have an actual Chaos Emerald. How the f*** did he do that? I don't know. But he proves that he can be just as strong as Shadow, and the boss battle that follows only further solidifies that. But then for the epic final battle against the Bio Lizard, Sonic takes a backseat and lets Shadow handle the first phase. Then when the Bio Lizard takes over the space colony and sends it straight at Earth, he goes super alongside Shadow, which is a really badass moment, but since there's two of them, he's only doing half the work. I don't know, it's tough, because he really grows a lot as a character throughout the game and learns some sick moves, but he really relies on his pals, and Shadow does most of the work in actually saving the day. This game also features some of his most fun levels in the series, but these rankings are about how useful he is compared to his other games, and because of that, I gotta put this one in Sidekick tier. I love you, Sonic Adventure 2, I'm sorry. I'm grouping this trilogy together again because his role is super consistent throughout. In Sonic Advance 1 and 3, you can choose from at least Sonic or Tails right from the get-go. Sonic Advance 2 is the only exception, but after beating just the first level, you unlock Cream the Rabbit. So he kickstarts the game, but like the others, is just a selectable character from that point on. He's definitely useful, but not more so than his pals, so he's one with the sidekicks. Sonic Heroes introduced a new team mechanic to the series, where characters travel in threes and fall under a speed, flight, or power archetype. Sonic's, of course, the speed guy, and he travels with Tails and Knuckles. However, power and flight are definitely the more useful abilities, because all three of these guys move fast as hell, but he's still a decently equal contributor, and nothing more. Sidekick. The main character in this one is pretty self-explanatory, but Sonic does make an appearance as a side character that sometimes travels with Shadow through a level and can be played as with a second controller. This game has a whole bunch of story routes that change the way things play out. If Shadow...
Hold on. Where's that fourth damn Chaos Emerald?
Helps the heroes, Sonic can...
I tried.
defeat Black Doom, but if Shadow helps him, Sonic can't do a thing to stop it. This is about as helpless to a situation as we'll ever see Sonic, so I'll take the opportunity to give him his very first word. Sonic Rush features the new character Blaze, whose dimension is being merged with Sonic's by some evil plan from the two Eggmen. Her and Sonic are pretty comparable forces, but they don't really trust each other at first, so the two fight it out, and Sonic whoops her ass. Sonic collects the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and when Eggman drains the Soul Emeralds, he's able to show Blaze the meaning of friendship, which restores the Soul Emeralds. I don't know. They use their magic jewels to turn into Super Sonic and Burning Blaze and defeat the Egg Salamander. Sonic's the strongest character across both of these dimensions. His gameplay introduces the boost mechanic, which makes him feel wicked powerful and fast. I think that should push him up to an elite tier. For a game
we don't talk about, as I just said before, we don't talk about 06. We don't. It's kind of stupid. Like, okay, spoilers for a little bit of the game, especially for people who haven't played it. But for the people who have played it, the game is so stupid. Sonic dying, Elise kissing Sonic because she thinks that saves him, but it's the stupid emeralds and she actually kisses him because she has romantic feelings for him. That's so stupid. Oh, and on top of that, it's so glitchy and buggy. What the heck? We would have loved this game if it wasn't so glitchy and buggy. Come on now.
guy, Sonic doesn't play a very vital role. This plot is confusing as all but Sonic's distracted by Elise for most of the game. While Silver's trying to avenge his fallen society, and Shadow's trying to figure out the sinister undertones of Eggman's plan, Sonic's trying to get some poon. He still crosses paths with the rest of the crew a lot, and contributes quite a bit then, but in the climax of the game, Mephiles kills Sonic and makes Elise cry, which
I just freaking called that. I just said that.
releases Iblis and sends the world into disaster. He actually dies, and it takes the effort of every other character and a miracle to bring him back.
Elise, I know he looks cute, but you gotta stop kissing him. That's not gonna bring him back. It's not freaking Snow White over here.
But alongside Super Shadow and Super Silver, they save the day. So instead of needing one other guy's help, he needs two. I gotta put this down and barely wins. He gets killed, it's done. And the bravery of his friends is the only reason he comes back.
Exactly. Not Miss Princess wanting to kiss him on the lips. No, that's not how it works. It's the damn emeralds. Telling ya.
Debatably worthless, but at least he does something. Like the first Sonic Rush, Adventure brings back the boost style and plays the cat. But this time, the story is way more focused on the two of them working together. They seem way more like equals here, and all the cool vehicles that Tails and Marine are making take even more focus away from Sonic himself, and shoehorn in all these other gameplay styles. This game's more centered on exploration than pure speed like the first one, and given how prominent so many other characters are, he feels more like a sidekick if I'm being honest. This opening cinematic
Oh yeah, that's another one of my favorites. Unleashed. I played that before. Love it.
is straight up beautiful. Watching Sonic and Eggman duke it out in space is so satisfying and smooth. Eggman has so many robots and weapons firing off all at once, and Sonic looks absolutely unfazed by it all. But he gets a bit too cocky, lets his guard down, and Eggman makes him pay for it. He decimates the planet, turns Sonic into off all at once, and Sonic looks absolutely unfazed by it all. But he gets a bit too cocky, lets his guard down, and Eggman makes him pay for it. He decimates the planet, turns Sonic into his werehog form, and sends him back toward the surface. From there, he goes on a globe-trotting adventure with his new buddy Chip, and this game demotes the rest of Sonic's pals to either background characters or just completely omits them. Instead, it's daytime stages that feature that boost formula in 3D for the first time, which are adrenaline rushes through and through, and nighttime stages, where stretchy arm werehog Sonic beats up waves upon waves upon waves of enemies. He gets all the emeralds, puts the planet back in one piece, defeats the Egg Dragoon, and faces off against Dark Gaia as Super Sonic. He goes super all by himself again, and faces off against one of his most menacing-looking foes to date. And that, with being the only playable character in two different forms with their own distinct strengths, makes this an easy elite. At Domino's,
Come on, stop interrupting the music, man. I love that. Why'd you gotta ruin it? With your stupid advertisements. Get out of here.
menacing-looking foes to date, and that, with being the only playable character in two different forms with their own distinct strengths, makes this an easy elite. Both episodes of Sonic 4 feature a pretty vanilla retelling of the original Sonic games. Eggman's back to stealing emeralds, building up a Death Egg, and Sonic's back to saving Flickies and stopping him with the help of Tails. Not really much else to say about these. Standard as shit, and that's a decent portrayal of Sonic. Typical. Eggman builds a theme park up in space where he's secretly making little aliens as slaves. Alright then. Sonic doesn't know this right away and just checks out the park for a good time. But he beats some levels, Eggman's intentions become more and more clear, and he stops him to save the day. This game has a super silly tone, and Sonic tries to crack cringy jokes in almost every cutscene.
Baldy nose hair! That's the best thing I heard all day!
It's hard to watch, but he's pretty average overall, and the Wisp transformations bring a slew of new abilities to Sonic's arsenal. But since they're temporary and dependent on power from another creature, I'm not really going to raise his rank. This game brings back a ton of Sonic's friends for the first time in a while, but they don't do anything. The Time Eater shows up and sucks everybody into a void, leaving just Sonic to go around and rescue them. And even once they're saved, they just stand around in the hub world. The only other character that does anything is his classic form, which is playable in these not very good 2D levels. Having two playable Sonics, though, was f***ing awesome when it came out, and makes this a clear-cut elite. This portrayal of Sonic's character isn't great. It takes his awful humor from Colors and just does it again, unapologetically. Eggman's controlling the Zeddy with some kind of magic conch, and Sonic destroys it because, well, Eggman's the fucking bad guy and it would make sense to take away his minions. Instead, he's made out to be an idiot because he didn't know the creatures were hostile and able to mind control Eggman's badniks themselves. Well, sorry, Tails tried to warn him, but maybe speak up a little bit and don't be so fucking indecisive and hesitant with your tone. Maybe he would have listened. They end up teaming up with Eggman. Tails is super pissed off at Sonic. Then he high roads Tails when he does something stupid, and Tails is sad. But then Sonic fucks up again and falls for a trap, and Tails sacrifices himself to save him. I was too slow to save my buddy. Yeah, kind of a terrible look, but it gets worse somehow. Because when...
Oh, wait, hold on.
But then Sonic fucks up again and falls for a trap, and Tails sacrifices himself to save him. I was too slow to save my buddy.
I'll be right back. Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and put my tripod right here. I need to check something. I'll be right back. We're gonna finish this. We're almost done. This is almost complete. There we go. Here. You guys can look at Sonic for a minute, but I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Let's finish this. I just had to check something, but I'm back. Let's finish this.
Yeah, kind of a terrible look, but it gets worse somehow. Because when a bridge him and Eggman are standing on collapses, Eggman grabs the ledge, catches Sonic, and tosses him to safety, before losing his own grip and falling to his death. Sonic should have died on multiple occasions, but was saved by Tails and his archenemy, and they pull off the upset somehow. I want to put this one in Worthless so bad, because there's 3 really awful mistakes, but he does save the day in the end, so barely wins. This is the only Sonic Boom game I'll be talking about, because 1, it's the only one for home console, and 2, because what I'll say for this one applies to the rest pretty well. He travels with Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, and each character has unique attributes that are required to beat certain sections. They're all equally important, and while Sonic is generally seen as the leader, in terms of importance, he's the same as the quote-unquote sidekicks, so... This game is a true return to classic form for Sonic, and it makes Tails and Knuckles playable from the start of the game. Tails can fly, Knuckles can glide and climb, and Sonic has the drop dash, making them all feel really different and fun to play, especially with select routes that only they can access. But for Sonic's ranking, since he's just as useful as his old...
Okay, babe. Okay, babe. Sounds good. I just came back too. I had to look at something.
Sidekicks, he's going down there with him. I hate Sonic Forces. It tries to do the Sonic Generations thing again, but lacks an ounce of creativity in doing so. Modern Sonic gets the shit kicked out of him by Infinite to start the game, and is thrown in jail afterwards for a long enough time for Eggman to completely take over the world. So Sonic loses. He's in a jail cell handcuffed, and Eggman does what he wants.
Yeah, but here's the thing. A lot of people hate Forces, but I think I love Forces despite how rage-inducing it is because I think, if I remember correctly, maybe it's one of the first Sonic games I've ever played. Then I got into the original Sonic, then the second Sonic, and then Sonic and Knuckles, all the way up to like Sonic 4. Let's see, what other games have I played? I also played, let's see, where are they? Sonic Mania, Sonic Colors, Team Sonic Racing. I forgot that one. That one's one of my favorites too. Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Superstars, and pretty much all the Sonic the Hedgehog games on Switch. I'm also looking forward to trying out the upcoming Sonic X Shadow Generations for y'all. Can't wait to play it. And Zochoco, Nico, to answer your question, darling, I don't think so. It should still be good.
Meanwhile, Classic Sonic shows up and saves Tails, then contributes a little, but the new customizable character is the one that breaks Sonic out. And even after that, Infinite continues to kick his ass. And in the big battle at the end of the game, Knuckles leads the forces, and the rookie is the one who stops the giant sun from crashing into the planet. And Sonic's helpless to the situation. He still sorta does his part, but he barely wins. Sonic Frontiers gives Mr. Needlemouse his most versatile moveset to date.
Mr. Needlemouse.
With a skill tree for combat, the circle move that attacks and solves puzzles, and his usual at this point boost. And it's overall really smooth and tight to controlling. He also takes the events of the game a lot more seriously. Instead of cracking corny jokes and sounding all high-pitched like Roger Craig Smith is known for, he sounds way more mellow and mature. His friends are all trapped in cyberspace, and it's up to him to rescue them and uncover the mysteries of the Starfall Islands. It feels like Sonic really grew up for this role, and his abilities are better than ever. So we've got another really strong elite tier on our hands. Sonic's latest 2D outing brings Tails, Knuckles, and Amy back to a playable role, and they're selectable in co-op and as single-player characters right from the get-go. So like I've done for all the other games that do this, he's going in Sidekick tier. And there you have it.
That is until Sonic X Shadow Generations comes out, and then I'm sure you're going to be redoing that again, buddy. But that's it, everyone. That is both of them reacting to. And also tomorrow I will be doing ranking how useless Knuckles is in every Sonic game. That'll be tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So join me next time for that. So we okay. Yikes. Okay. So how else? We are currently, let's see, where are we? Let's check. Let's see, where's my channel? Here it is. All right, so we are at 2.72K subscribers. That's good. That is good progress, people. That is, everybody. That's good progress. We are making good progress. We are slowly getting to 3K and then 5K. Hopefully we can get there, because if we get better subscribers, I'm getting you better content, and hopefully, if my phone can stop getting blurry, really good quality content. So come on, y'all. If you want better games like Sonic X Shadow Generations, if you want better quality, better everything, you know what you got to do. You know what you got to do for me. You got to hit that subscribe button. You got to like it. You got to share it. You got to comment. You got to click the bell. All that stuff. I'm serious. If you people want really good quality, like, you know, Jacksepticeye does and all that stuff, you know what you got to do. You know what you have to do to get really good quality content every single month, every single year. So with all that being said, I will be live streaming, let's see, Monopoly tomorrow, WWE, ranking how useless Knuckles is going to be. And there's going to be lots of good content. I'm not stopping anytime soon. So, long story short, just continue supporting me, and I will do my best to give you good quality content, quality videos, quality everything, 100%. So, until tomorrow, I hope you have a great day, rest of your day, everybody. I love you all, forever in my heart, always. And, well, until then, take care and peace.